What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be focusing on the brake system of the Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R. You know, even though this Ninja is capable of 160 plus in Mexico on the highway, all that speed and all that power is worth absolutely nothing if you can't stop it. And there was no way that was going to work in the condition that the brake calipers are in. These calipers are in some of the worst condition I have seen on a bike. So today I'm going to be breaking down this caliper, cleaning it out, replacing the seals, and putting it back on the bike, and hoping that that it works a whole lot better than it does now. Now, as I've shown you guys in the previous video, the actual calipers themselves, I mean, they look good on the outside. The problem is these pistons are seizing up, and if you can look close, I'll try to zoom in. You can see a ring around each one of these little dirt. It's like a dirt ring on these three, but it looks like these three over here just broke free, and that was after squeezing the control like 200 times, trying to build some kind of pressure. And then this one here, you can see that only these released, but these three on the other side did not. So I'm going to take a brake pad in here and try my best to strategically break these free so that I can probably put some air to it and probably push these out of their seals. First thing to do, take the brake calipers off. Now, before I get started on this full teardown of both the front and the rear calipers, I want to give a huge shout out to Partzilla for the rebuild kits that I ordered online. They got these things to me really quick, and so far they seem to be exactly what I'm looking for, and they are fairly priced. They're not too expensive, and definitely not cheap parts. But I definitely want to give you guys a huge shout out. Or give a huge shout out to Partzilla.com if you guys need anything for your motorcycles or ATVs, whatnot. Any parts whatsoever, shop on Partzilla.com. These guys are excellent with all of their products that they sell. Their website is easy to navigate. They have a lot of the blueprints, or it's like a blown up blueprint, so you can see what part goes where, and then down below it labels which one is what. So it's actually really well put together. I really like Partzilla.com, so if anybody out there needs parts for the motorcycle or ATV, remember to shop on Partzilla.com. I will say that these things are very tight. These are very well put together, and they are on there. I've been having a hard time breaking these banjo washers. I'm getting these off so I can separate from the hoses. So let me see if I can get this. get it? Yes. Okay. Now I got that broke free and I got it pulled off. Fairly light brake caliper, but you can see how, where's the light? See how it's shiny down at the bottom of these, but on the top it's still recessed inside there. I'm gonna try to block these off the brake pads and hit it with air, and hopefully that will push these out. I don't know, it's another trick, but these seem to be pretty seized up. Otherwise I'll have to break the caliper in half and try to break those free some other way. But let me try the air, see if that's a good way to get that broke free. It seems as though I have run into a small situation. I don't know if you guys can see. I'll try. If you guys can look inside there, hang on, helps. There we go. You see, I got these 3 pistons here are okay. They're pushing against the pads, and then you got the middle piston pushing against the pad, so that's how it's supposed to work. But I got these 2, this one and this one, they're seized up. So now you can see why we're doing this rebuild. All right, this one already started to come out. So let me see if I can push it out the rest of the way with the air. Push it against the back. Woo! And there it goes. I meant to do that. Ugh. It looks gross though. See what I mean? On the inside there, all that grime, that's old fluid that needs to be changed. And then the one seal, that's bad. And what the side, oh, sorry. And what the one side of this looks like. Let's see where the seal was at. Really gnarly. All right, well, let me clean this one up and see if we can get it all back together. Once you get your cylinder out, here's a little hack. It's kind of easy. I'm sure you guys are trying to figure out how to get this thing off of here. Put the palm of your hand against the top of this caliper, trap your fingers over the top like this, and pull in. Just squeeze. And what's happening is you're fighting against the suction that's inside here, but you want to make sure that you clean up those pins. Come on. You're fighting against the suction. That's what you're doing. Pop off the boots if you can, but it will come off. There you go. Nice and steady pressure. Keep going until it pops out. But inside here are these boots. There's pins, and that's what allows the caliper to slide back and forth on the rotor. So there's one. This other one doesn't want to let go, but it comes out like so. And you want to clean these channels out, make sure they are clean, and then you're going to want to put grease back inside here, and I'll explain this here in just a second. All right, I'm going to try my best to explain this, but these pins are very important. All right, so what happens on your brake rotors, right, is these things they're riding in here like this, right? And there's supposed to be a rubber boot on both sides. And what happens is whenever you put a little bit of grease inside here, it allows these pins to slide fairly effortlessly. And these pins are not completely around. Okay, if you'll notice, I'm gonna try to do this, but look close, you can see that it's got flat edges on it. See that right there? So what happens is it creates an air gap inside there, which allows not air but like grease to pass by, and there's a small air pocket that builds up on the very back end. That's what will make these things really difficult to put back on. Once you put grease, but I'm not going to need this air anymore. Once you put grease back on the pins, you're going to want to clean out the boots. You can find this on your car too. This is what causes your brake calipers to lock up in one position and not retract, and that's what will cause your brake pads to wear unevenly on your brake rotors. But that pin needs to be clean, and this channel, you need to clean out that channel too, because there's going to be sometimes rust gets inside there. Well, the reason why that grease is in there in the boot is to keep that water from getting in there and rusting it, so that this moves effortless on the rotor. So let's say it's on the bike like this, right? You apply the brakes. Well, whenever you do, you're pushing the caliper. You're pushing the caliper this direction, and the pad on this side stays steady. It doesn't move anywhere. So it's actually squeezing, and when it does, this bracket is attached to the bike while the caliper itself is free moving. Okay, does it make sense? You press on the brake and it pushes the caliper against your rotor, and whenever you get off the brake, the caliper, by force of the pressure that's inside of these little chambers, causes it to forcefully push it, if I can get it to go, it forcefully pushes it back in. So these pins are what causes your brake rotors to seize up. That's probably the best way I can describe it. I'll show you guys whenever I do my truck, because mine have been freezing up on my truck. But these are clean. These are clean. I mean, they got a little bit of gunk on them, but I will be cleaning these up. That and the calipers. The calipers look pretty bad, but we will be doing some major cleaning here soon. Hopefully that helped you guys. Alright, so y'all want a little sneak peek of what it looks like when the caliper's broken in half? It looks a little something like this. Alright, I had to pop off these other bolts here, which I needed to have my impact to do it. My new toy tool. And then it looks like this. It is a mess, but it's worth it. The O-rings, like I was telling you about, there's one on each side. And the new rebuild kits that I have, they do have these. So this is what needs to be replaced. That's what takes all the pressure, and it transfers all the fluid over from one side over to the other to allow the other pistons on the opposite side to work. And the same goes for the other side. So they both work in tandem. So, but anyway, that's what it looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and try to break this thing free and see if I can get these two out of here off camera, and I will be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've been working at this for a good couple hours now, and I'm at a stopping point. I've actually gotten to a point where these two pistons, they will not free up at all. Out of the 6 pistons, I got 4 of them, but 2 of them just won't let go. So I went ahead and I put all this back together. I sprayed some WD-40 on it. I'm going to let it soak, and then I also put some of this Marble Mystery Oil in it. I still have no idea what's in it. I don't know why people keep asking me. I don't know what it is. It's still a mystery. But I'm going to put both of that on here, let it soak overnight, and we'll just get back at it tomorrow in the morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, it has actually been about 2 weeks since the last part of that video to right now. Solely because I actually ran into a stopping point and I couldn't proceed further, because in this piston, or in this caliper here, 2 of the pistons had seized up and they wouldn't let go, and I didn't have any tool that would break those free without damaging the piston. So I went online and I found this tool right here. All right, these are brake piston removal locking pliers. or basically the vice grips that they're opposing. So these things here are fantastic. Let me show you how they work. Alright, the pliers themselves are basically vice grips that you can adjust them to whatever size you want. And on the inside of the actual plier, see how it's coarse right here? These right here grab the inside wall of the piston. They slide down inside there, then they expand, and you clamp down on it. Right. So let me back it out some. Open it up, open, and then clamp. There we go. And it grabs the inside of that piston like that. Okay. Now, I used every ounce of my energy to try my best to break these things free, and I finally got the only two pistons that were seized up freed up, and I got them all pulled out. I went ahead and I pulled everything all apart to kind of save myself some time. And this part of the video today is going to be cleaning up these calipers, and then I'm going to continue on probably tomorrow when I have a little bit more time, and I'm going to reassemble everything. Hopefully I can get that done before it gets dark. So anyway, my objective for today is to turn pistons that look like this into pistons that look like this. Okay, this is not brand new. I just cleaned this one up so I can show you guys the before and afters. And then if you'll look on the inside of this caliper, all right, this is your befores, what it looks like, and then I kind of cleaned it up the best I could. This is after. See down inside of these grooves down in here. Let me show you with my pick. All right, deep down inside you got two grooves. You got your top groove, and then you have your bottom groove, and these are your seals. You got your top seal and then your bottom seal, and this is what they look like. So you take your pick, all right, you go to the inside of the wall, and you scoop it out. See how it comes out? That one comes out pretty easy. I see all crappy how bad it looks in there. And the bottom seal is actually a bigger one, so you push in a little bit harder and turn. It's a really thick seal, but it's also got a bunch of grime and stuff behind it too. Yeah, you see all that garbage? Come on, there you go. Look at all that. So I gotta clean all of that out of all those seals on each one of these. The best way to clean it is using brake cleaner, and the best way to lubricate it is not by using any other oils or anything. You want to use brake fluid. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these free. And that just fell right out. That's okay. You want to make sure that you use your pick and whatnot and just get off all the old grime. Try not to gouge or dig into the aluminum. You don't want to do that, because remember, all this stuff is under high pressure, and your brakes are your lifeline whenever you're on the road. So try not to damage it. There we go. These look terrible. But anyway, that's your before, and I'll show you guys the after whenever I'm finished. Here's the bigger brake caliper, one for the rear. When I pulled out the piston, the top ring had already come off. Just slide that off of there. All right. Let's say the bigger ring. Push in and roll out. This one's actually in really bad shape. And slowly roll it out. All right. You see all that? I will be cleaning all of that out today. On top of this, I'm going to be cleaning out, or I'm going to be cleaning all the bolts, because each one of these, all the threads, yeah, these got a bunch of junk on them. Looks like corrosion. So I will be cleaning all these up, and before I put them all back in, I'm going to put a form of Loctite on the threads so they don't back out. So that's my objective today, is to clean all these up. How I cleaned this piston here was, it was very simple. I used fine steel wool, right? I just grabbed it and was just doing some twisting, and that was it. That's all I did. Grab, pinch, and just twist and keep going until it's nice and clean. Now as for these calipers, the piston here, in order to clean the inside of this, I used this pick, and I got up inside there and kind of I scraped out a lot of the big bulky stuff, anything that was kind of difficult to get out. But if that didn't work, then I used like a little wire brush, and I just worked my way around and cleaned it the best I could. I use compressed air. I use, like I said, brake cleaner. Clean this stuff out the best I can. But try your best not to scrape the inside walls. And I mean, like, really try not to. Because it's easy to do that. Remember, this is just aluminum, guys. It's just aluminum. And I took a towel, wiped down the inside. And there you go. But I'm not done. I'm going to hit this a few more times, and then it's going to be finally clean. And as for these bolts here, I'm going to go ahead and run over on the wire wheel and clean up all these threads. Alright, so I've been working on this caliper for a little while, and I managed to get majority of this cleaned out on the inside. Both the fluid channels here and over here. This one's actually in pretty good shape, but the rest of this looks like it's in great shape. My hands are green because somebody spray painted this thing green, and this brake fluid breaks apart that that paint, so that's why my hands are green. But this is my goal, is to take each one of these pistons and clean them up and get all of them nice and clean if possible. There's going to be some stuff that's kind of stuck on there. I really can't get it off, but that's not going to be a big issue. But yeah, but this is only one caliper, and I'm going to repeat this process for the other one, for this one, and for the rear caliper. But before I continue, I'm going to go ahead and pause on this. I'm going to run out and go get some food, come back, and then get right back at it. And finish up cleaning out all these chambers here. Take out all the seals. Yeah, I can't wait to get started on this one. But yeah, I'll tell you right now, these things, they look pretty rough. Look, here's your difference. So, all right. Well, let me go ahead and finish up this other stuff. I also took a second to clean all the threads on the bolts themselves, make sure they're nice and clean. So reassembly should be a breeze. But again, I still have this one. I have to, you know, tear apart, break apart, and pull these out. It's actually not going to be difficult to pull these out because they're already broke free. So that's good. So let me go get some food and I'll be right back. Here we go for the other side. I'm just gonna pick one. Get it? Pick one. Right here. That one's got all kinds of junk underneath that seal. It's gotta come out. Yeah. Gross. It's okay, we are here to replace these. It's really the only way to get it out of there is with a pick. It's like glue. Nasty. Alright. Let's pop out these next two. That one's stuck in there. All that junk I gotta scrub out of there. And this is inside these seals. You can't screw up the seals, they're two different sizes. And the grooves only fit a specific size. So you can't mess this up. So that one's just bad. Alright, let me go ahead and clean these out. Now what I've been doing is I'll take this pick and I'll go around the inside edge like so, and I'll just, you know, scrape off all the surface stuff. I'm not putting a lot of force into it. If you ever want to know where to get these picks, I got these from Harbor Freight. They're like $15 for a set of like 4 or 5. Alright, so it's about as good as I'm going to be able to get it. I mean, she ain't absolutely stunning and beautiful, but it'll work. Maybe I can work a little bit more on this inside one. But all of these are just like really, really hard to access. But anyway, that's the objective. You want to make sure all of these are clean. Make sure you blow them out with air. Let them, if you've got, what is that in there? Cross channels. Yeah, you want to make sure you dry this entirely, and then the best lubrication that you can use on the inside of this is brake fluid. Brake fluid is your lubricant because they're going to be living in brake fluid for the rest of their days. So anyway, let me go ahead and get on the rear cylinder, clean that out, and then start reassembling. So a little bit of before and after of the rear before I get working on it. This paint is just coming right off, and it just sticks to my hand. So anyway, but yeah, here's your before and after. Look at the inside seals, and by seals I mean this right here, all this and all this. I'm going to be cleaning that as well as best as I can. Alright, so it's about 20 minutes later. I got this as clean, I think, as I can get it without putting it into a parts cleaner. But I got all the joints inside, all this in here fairly clean. I got it as clean as I'm going to get it, considering I don't have a parts cleaner and I'm only able to use a pick. But that looks substantially better than it did before. I'll probably go get me a parts cleaner and find a way to get all this green paint off of this. Josh, I apologize. I know you're watching this and you want to keep these green, but the chemicals I'm using is just destroying the green paint that's on these calipers. So I'm just going to clean it all, and we'll just worry about the paint color later on. So anyway, since I do have one more caliper left to go, I'm going to repeat the exact same cleaning process on this as I did with that one over there. I'm not going to reassemble that one just yet because I'm going to soak each one of them and get all that paint off, and then I'm going to reassemble them when it's all nice and clean. But what I'm going to go ahead and do tonight is I'm going to pop these free and break this in half and just disassemble everything off camera, so you guys will know what I'm doing. Or I can probably do it right here. Let me see if I can. I could probably do it here. Yeah. All right. This is the only way I've been able to get these off. It's with this impact. You make sure it's all the way in there. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Come on. Alright. I'll go ahead and clean up all these bolts and disassemble this caliper. And then I'll get the parts cleaner tomorrow when I go to Harbor Freight. So I can get this all cleaned up and reassembled and put back on the bike. This caliper, it does come apart. These are not really that easy to get off. These do not want to come out freely. So that means I need to use my vice grips, the ones that I bought for this principle. Yeah, they don't want to come out. Okay, I can solve that problem. Let's use my new tool. Okay, this is how it works. You size it up, open it up, twist a little more, and then make sure it's nice and flush. I try my best to get a good bite on these. Okay. All right, and this is what you do. You slowly turn it back and forth, and as you do, I'm kind of like pulling away as I turn it, and it walks out of the brake caliper. Ta-da! Just like that. Try not to drop these. There we go. Still got some hold on it. That's fine. Ow. Finger. Alright, I'm gonna back this down a little bit because you got two big pistons and you got a little bitty one. I don't know why that combination exists, but okay. I'll go with it. And this one's not that bad. There we go. I like this new tool. I'm going to take my time cleaning that one out. Keep all of these separate. Okay, big, big, small. Let's start with this one. This one's actually pretty easy because it's already been popped out. The air compressor did that for me. Okay, open that, tighten a little bit. Okay. You want to fight me? Man, I'm gonna be sore tomorrow. Get out. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Get. There we go. It's nice and easy. Man, that one did not want to come out. I'll probably work on cleaning these things tomorrow. I've already done half of the stuff tonight. Well, that's how that tool works. I like this tool. Comes in handy. And then all I have to do is pull out all these seals, clean everything. Like I said, repeat the same process like I did on that caliper over there. And then I'll get to the paint stripping later on and get rid of all this green because it looks bad now. So we'll have to address that at a later time. So, alright, well, I will see you guys in the next part of this video, which will probably be tomorrow. Now, before I call it a night, I'm actually going to go ahead and take this rear piston. I'm going to clean it. But one thing I notice is this thing does spin. It's not threaded in there. It's like a spacer. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, that's what it looks like on the inside. I don't know if you guys knew. All right, let me go ahead and clean this up. This is the before. I'll show you the after here in just a second. All right, and here's the after. It looks way better. And that insert, it comes out super simple. This looks like a plastic insert. I don't know what that's about. I guess it's a dampener or something. But there's the inside, nice and clean, all over again. So, all right, well, yep. that's it for me tonight. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am now at a point where I have successfully cleaned all of the calipers. I got all the paint off. I mean, well, majority of it. There's bits in little areas, but I got majority of the paint off so it doesn't transfer over to my hand anymore. I got each one of these places where the pistons go. I got all these cleaned out. I got the little seal inlets, or the insets where the seals go. I got those cleaned up. It took me a long time to get all that out of there, that white powder stuff that's caked on the inside. It's like glue. I used this pick and I went on the inside of each one of these rings and I scraped everything off. And that took me about 2 or 3 hours to do. But yes, it's tedious. However, this is an important component on this vehicle and I want it to run or operate as designed. So before you is basically the full breakdown of the brake calipers. You're going to have your caliper casing, your pistons, the 4 bolts that join these, that marry these things together. These are going to be your the bolts that I can't remember what they're called, banjo bolts. But these are the ones that allow for fluid to pass through. I'll install that toward the end. Front brake calipers. This is your rear. Whenever you go to install these, do not use WD-40. Do not use any other lubricant other than brake fluid. All right, brake fluid is the lubricant you want to use for the seals that are going to go in here and the backside of your pistons. So whenever you go to install these, you want to use this and then slide them in one at a time. So only use brake fluid, because for its life, it's going to be, you know, living in brake fluid. So, but anyway, for the rear brake caliper, you'll remember that both of these little chambers here, those are slide pins. Well, you want to make sure that you use the silicone parts brake lubricant for those pins, like I did in my last video, if you guys had seen it. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the front, which is going to be this one here. This is the rear. We'll do that in a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead. What I'll do is for the first one, I'll just show you how I put it in. And then I'll just put you guys on a time lapse so you guys can see me throw it all together. So, all right, let's get busy. Now, before I slap you guys on a quick time lapse, I'm actually going to go ahead and walk you through all the stuff that I am doing. The first thing I'm going to be doing here is putting a little bit of brake fluid in each one of the piston. Actually, I put it into just one of them, but the little chambers that share each other, all the fluid transfers from one chamber to the next. So it's a little bit goes a long way, guys. I learned this right away after I installed this one. And yes, I'm having to do a voiceover because apparently my microphone didn't pick up from the beginning. It actually died. I don't know why. But anyway, on this one here, if you can see, I've zoomed in and you can see where I'm putting in the larger seal first. And with one finger, I put it into the groove on the bottom. And then with the other hand, I just push it down and it just kind of like finds its home. You know, it slides right into the groove where it's supposed to be. However, I ran into one problem is it doesn't always just pop right into its groove where it's supposed to go. A little part of it actually binds up a little, and you need to take a pick, which I'll show you here in just a second. You take the pick and you push it in where it is twisted. It's a little bit twisted. So you push it in, pull the pick back out, and then let it relax, and it will slide into the groove where it belongs.
So, and I'm going to repeat this process for every single one of them, and every one of them you'll see the large seals they bind up right at the very end. They don't always go all the way in. So it helps to take a little bit of brake fluid and put it on your gloves. This is why I like using these gloves, because it's easy to transfer brake fluid from one part to the next and lube up seals, because it makes it so much easier for install. But yeah, this one also, when I put it in there, it also started to bind up a little bit. It was a little twisted. So again, I take my pick and I push it in where it's twisted, push it in there, pull it out of the groove, and then pull the pick right back out, and it just pops right back into place where it's supposed to go. And then process repeat for all of the rest of them. Here in a second, I'm going to be zooming in, or give you guys a close-up look of what I'm talking about whenever it comes to these seals binding up. So let me show you that as soon as I start putting in the next seal. Where's the next one? Right here. All right. So again, lube up the seal. Make sure it's fully coated with brake fluid, and then stick it down in the groove, the very bottom groove, because these are the larger of the two seals, and then push it down, and it will pop into place. But the problem is the last part of it, you'll see that it'll bind up. It was binding up on me. It may not bind up on you, but for me, that's what happened. So let me show you up close. If you look close, where it doesn't quite look flesh, I'll point it out here with my my pick. Right here is the inner ledge. So what I'll do is I'll go behind it, I'll pull it out, and then I'll snap it in. You see how it popped right in? And now it's flush and it's where it's supposed to be. And then the following, you'll notice that I start moving right along with the smaller seals. And the smaller seals gave me no issues whatsoever. They're actually quite simple to pop into place. Just make sure that you lube them up before you put them into place. And repeat the same thing for the remaining calipers. Now, again, I will say that this is my first half of the first caliper I was working on, and I accidentally put in too much brake fluid. You really don't need that much to get started. A little bit goes a long ways. I'm just telling you that right now. So like you can just get neutral or latex gloves like I have, and you can just put a little bit on your fingers, and that usually is more than enough, really. Okay, so now I'm going to start putting in these pistons. And they did give me a little bit of trouble at first because, I mean, like I said, this is my first time doing these kind. You'll notice right here that the pressure, see how it's pushing out in the middle cylinder? This was it was a little tough, but it wasn't straight. So it helps if you kind of wiggle it back and forth a little bit sometimes. but yeah, that pressure itself, this is why I say don't put so much fluid in there because you're compressing that fluid and it accidentally squirted across my shop. And I got brake fluid all over my freezer. So, but yeah, on this one here, I'm using the butt end of my screwdriver, which is plastic, and it's not going to scratch any metal. Do not use a regular screwdriver or any pliers. Never use pliers on these. A little bit of pressure goes a long ways, but you just make sure that it's straight. That's what really matters. With this here, I'm kind of rocking my wrist back and forth, and you'll see that the piston itself slides into the caliper just like that. And you just rock your wrist back and forth using the butt end of the screwdriver, and it works out very well. Some of these I didn't have to do that, but it is what it is. Now, before you put the piston in, make sure you lube the walls of the piston and retouch up on the seals. Kind of helps it out. See how this one it goes in a little bit, then it stops. Oh, there you go. Got brake fluid all over my freezer. The struggle's real, guys. But yeah, that one just popped right in. And this is where I started picking up the idea of, okay, yeah, I need to lubricate the actual piston itself and make sure that it's straight when it goes in, and they all slide right in their home. So this entire process for all the calipers was actually surprisingly easy. Some of them gave me a little bit of trouble, but not too much, not more than what I can handle. So here's the time lapse, and hopefully you guys enjoy this. And while we're in the time lapse, you guys want to, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that button. The more people that subscribe to my channel, the better my channel can get. It helps me out in a great way. So spread the word, subscribe. It's free. I'm not charging you guys to do it. I'm not going to hunt you down. Just subscribe, guys. All right, so now I'm putting in the small O-ring for the, it looks like the transfer chamber. This is where both of the calipers meet up and they share the hydraulic liquid or brake fluid. Now you want to make sure that you put the O-ring in the correct spot, because one side of that caliper has a little notch that's built for that, and you'll clearly see the indentation where it belongs. But you want to make sure they kind of like stay in there. And this is where they get compressed. So try to hold them together the best you can and set like this. You want to set it on its side so it doesn't fall apart. And then I started with the actual bolts to hold it together and keep them in line. And then I'm going to follow it up with my impact to marry both of these calipers together permanently. Now, when I use this impact, I started from the inside and I worked my way out. First, I ran them up with finger tight, not finger tight, but I ran them up with my fingers first so I don't cross thread. This is very important not to do that. And then I went on the outside bolts, or inside bolts, outside bolts, finger tight. I'm running them in with my fingers. Then I ran them in with the impact. And then I hit them inside, outside, and torqued them. And for each one of them, I gave them 2 good old ugga-duggas. I don't have a torque wrench. I do not know the torque specs on these bolts in specific. If you guys happen to know what it is, please comment down below and let us know, because I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is if they're tight and ugga-duggas are part of that tightening process, then we're good to go. All right, you see how the O-ring protrudes up from the surface? That means that it is going to, it's not just inside of that caliper, but it also protrudes into the indentation in the other side of the other caliper. So it lets you know that that is still a good O-ring. Now, if that O-ring is not visible, if you look at it from the side, then it is going to leak. So these are brand new O-rings, so I don't have to worry about that. All right, we're going to bring both of these together. We're going to marry them with the bolts. Always run these things in with your fingers first so you avoid cross-threading by accident. I've done this in the past and it sucked. Yeah, just run it up with the impact first. Just run it up, don't hit it first. And then you hit them with a couple of ugga-duggas. One more. And just like that, we're torqued. All right, we're shifting our focus to the rear caliper. I had to take a second and get all the O-rings out because everything's brand new, everything's all still in its package. I leave it that way. On this, it doesn't have a way to keep fluid in the bottom of that little reservoir because it's open. So I had to put some on my gloves, which worked fantastic. Once again, I put the large seal in the bottom seal groove on the inside of the caliper. And you'll see here, I use one hand to hold it there, and the other hand to just kind of like walk it around. And I think this one, it just popped right in. I don't remember if it did or not. I think it did. I didn't have to use my pick for this one. I think it's because it's such a large piston that it worked out pretty well. Same went with the top seal. The top seal that went in quite well as well. And remember, guys, it's all in the prep. If you prep this thing very well, you won't have any issues upon installation. And this one here, it's a much larger piston. It did give me some issues, and well, not much issues, but more of grunting power. So I had to give it my own personal ugga-dugga power and get that piston to go all the way into this caliper. Now this one here didn't go all the way in, but it did bottom out, and the piston itself does protrude. It's not flush. It does protrude just a little bit when it's done. As you'll see, I'm putting a lot of effort into this one. But remember, this is a larger surface area that I have to push against. And I'm also making sure not to plug that hole at the bottom. I'm using the butt end of my screwdriver to kind of compress that piston, but it is not working with me. I think it's a little crooked. So I start working it around, and it starts to go all the way in, and there we go. So it's mostly in, but it does protrude just a little bit. I'm thinking it's very possible it's not all the way in there because I'm used to seeing it flush, but I am soon learning that is not the case. And that should be more than enough. So we're going to put the insert in here. I'm not entirely sure what this little piece is for. I think it has something to do with vibration cancellation, but I could be wrong. This one here, I'm using the brake fluid as, again, a lubricant in that little channel for the pin to slide in. The reason why I'm doing that is that rubber insert, this is the direction it goes in. It can't go in the other direction. So you have to work at it this way. You push it in a little bit and then you start twisting it back and forth. It helps, again, to have brake fluid on the rubber boot itself. And that way you can move it back and forth like this. And you'll push in a little bit while you're twisting and then stop, pull out a little bit, and then push it back in while twisting again. And it will ultimately seat where it's supposed to be. You'll see it here in just a second. See, I'm pulling out a little bit and I'm pushing back in. What it's doing is there's a air pocket I'm pushing against, and it's pushing the tip of that rubber boot through the actual caliper itself, and there is where it's going to stay. Now it's got a seal, so I have to break that seal. The best way to break the seal on those is to use like a pick or like a small screwdriver and just kind of like peel back the boot a little bit and pop the bubble like this. It is a little tough, but it's doable. You just got to break that seal and that pin will pop right out. Now, once again, whenever you go to put these pins back into that slot, you've got to use this brake part silicone to prevent any oxidation from occurring inside that little chamber to prevent your calipers from seizing up. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Use the silicone, take the time, clean the chamber, and I promise you, you'll thank yourself in the future. Well, this is where it started getting fun for me because I started pushing against that bubble. And I eventually got it on there. But here you'll see me using this pick, and I'm getting underneath the lip of that the rubber boot, and I'm rolling the rubber boot around the edge of that lip where it's going to find its home. Or there's a little seal. But the rubber boot has to go over that lip to prevent any grease from escaping or any water getting in. So that's the only reason why I use the pick in that situation. Make sure you clean up your area, get all the grease off. Do not leave any grease or silicone on the outside of any brakes, because if it gets onto the brake pads, you're not going to be able to stop. All right, now you'll see how the bracket moves like it's supposed to. This is what I've been talking about. There's a little air bubble that's inside there, and it slides with that silicone. That free motion is exactly what you're looking for. Installing these brakes, the brake pads is rather easy. There is a spring plate up inside of the caliper. So whenever you take both of these and you put them together like this, there's going to be a little loop at the top of each one of those brake pads, and this pin slides through the top loop of both of those brake pads. So whenever you go to install those and you're pushing it on the pad, you want to push down on the pads and in on the pads at the same time. Push against that spring plate, which will allow that pin to fall all the way in place. Follow it up with this cotter pin on the inside of that pin to hold that looks like the guide pin for the brake pads in place. It's more like a guide rail, really. And you're pretty much done with the back brake caliper. Onto the front caliper here. This one here, I'm just basically doing the same thing I did with the rear. Pay attention to the type of pin, that the large pin, because they are different. You got like 2 chrome ones or 2 small ones, and then 1 really big one. The big one goes on the rear, and the 2 go on the front. And it's basically the same design as you'll see here. See the chrome bar that goes across? It's like a guide bar. And then you take this cotter pin and you'll slide it through the hole that's inside of that bar to lock everything in place so your pads don't fall out. And now your brake caliper is basically ready to go back on the bike. All this stuff is rather simple. This is your dust shield. Helps protect the brake pads themselves. Got a little bitty screws, so try to be mindful not to strip those. You don't need to torque on them too much. But they are hard to keep up with if you lose them. I almost did a couple times. But I run these up by hand, and then I go back over them with Allen wrenches. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be a wrap for today's video. I do apologize for a lengthy video, but I did run into multiple issues with this, a lot of obstacles, and I was able to overcome everything with a little bit of help from other mechanics and showing me how to make sure this is done correctly. So I get it done correctly because these are very vital components for a motorcycle. I mean, like I said in the very beginning, what's the use in having all that speed if you can't stop it? So the calipers are completely reassembled. Everything's put back together. Don't forget about this. Remember that. Pads are all in. Pads are in this one. Pads are also in this one. So these are ready to go on the bike. And then, like I said, I'm not going to be putting these on the bike in this video. It's going to be on, not the next one, but the one after this. That's when I'm going to put it on the bike. My next video is going to be installing rear sets on a sport bike, and I'll explain that in that video. So stay tuned for that video. That's going to be for one of my other subscribers of whom had a question about it. And yes, I didn't forget about you. I had to wait for parts, brother. All right, this banjo bolt, that's right here. I think it's called banjo bolt. This is the one for the brake fluid. It comes with a crush washer, all right? Whenever you go to take off the old one, it's going to have another washer on it. The old one, toss it, throw it away. Always replace your crush washer, all right? Crush washer, banjo washer, whichever. This is made of copper. It's a softer metal. So whenever you go to tighten this back down, it creates a better seal, a complete seal. So because whenever it's clamped down, it actually compresses, and in the metal itself, if you magnify it, it's not smooth. It's got little ridges. Well, whenever you smash that copper down, that copper fills in those little valleys, creating a complete seal so you don't leak brake fluid. So that is why you need to replace your banjo washer or your crush washer. Never use the old ones. So anyway, hopefully you guys like this content on the channel, especially this video. If you did, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, especially the comments. If you guys want to put in your 2 cents, please comment down below. Other people read that. If there's stuff that I missed on here, comment down below. People read that. It helps other people out, not just myself. And that's pretty much that's it for this video. So hopefully you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, y'all take it easy. I love you. Good night.